time for MacBreak Weekly, episode 191. Merlin, Mann, Alex, Lindsay, and Ihnatko are all here to talk about the lost or stolen iPhone, plus the latest news about the iPad and more. MacBreak Weekly is next. Stay here.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 191 for April 20th, 2010. Lost. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by GoToTraining. Improve learning, participation, and access to training programs and save a bunch with GoToTraining. For a free trial, visit GoToTraining.com. And by Drobo, the original S, Pro, and the new Drobo Elite, offering expandable storage products for individuals, small businesses, and creative teams. For more information and instant rebates, visit drobo.com/MacBreak. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers the latest hires and fires at Apple. And there's going to be a big one this week. Joining us now to talk about the latest Apple news in studio for the last time, because he's about to leave for Africa, Ash Willing.
It's Ash Willing, yeah. We're going to see how this goes. I'm supposed to fly out on Friday. I'm connecting through Frankfurt.
Alex Lindsay of the Pixel Corps, pixelcorps.tv for the podcast, pixelcorps.com for the great Guild of Multimedia Artists. Stay tuned. We'll have a deal. That deal is still on for Pixel Corps?
Yes, it is. MBW.
Okay.
And it's $50 off. We're shooting. So
or don't stay tuned. Just keep listening.
Can I say?
Go ahead. Do it.
We're shooting with Marty Rosenberg next week. Marty Rosenberg is the visual effects DP for stuff like Terminator 4, Terminator 4, yeah, and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Neat.
And so he's got tons of experience. So he's doing a small film, his own film, and so you're going to kind of see what a big someone with a ton of experience on big films does when they don't have a lot of money.
Neato.
And they figure it out. And so we're going to be actually streaming for the members. We're going to be streaming stuff live from the set. Marty may actually be available for some Q&A. We're going to be shooting tons of behind the scenes, and so there's going to be a lot of that stuff that we're kind of opportunistically grabbing onto, whether it's our own productions or other people's productions. And so anyway, it's a good time to sign up. Everything really starts going May 1st, and as I said, it's normally $99, $50 off with MBW.
That's for a year.
It's for a year. It used to be $50 a month.
That's
and what we did is a lot of people just wanted to find a more affordable way. They wanted to stay in contact. And so we restructured it and figured out how to do something that we could actually make work in that was more affordable. And it's a great way to get kind of introduced to visual effects and production. Everything from podcasting to visual effects to photography to Photoshop. And if you do any one of those things, we think you get your value. So,
I think that's true.
It's good stuff.
Also with us, Mr. Merlin Mann from 43folders.com and the star of the great You Look Nice Today podcast. Hello, Moylan.
Hardly the star. My gosh, I'm definitely lowest on the totem. Well, hi, guys. I missed you. It's very nice to see you all.
So good to have you back. And a good day to come back, because, boy, do we have some interesting stories to talk about today. And actually, no one better to talk about it, I think, than Mr. Andy Ihnatko, journalist extraordinaire, and a man who has done quite a bit of legwork on this latest foorah.
All I can say is that I have not managed to get kicked out of the industry yet, although I try on a weekly basis.
So let us start with this lost/stolen next generation iPhone. And I guess the place to start is actually not Gizmodo, but Engadget, who had some blurry photos.
That's where it began.
It began there.
It's basically this all started. Now, first, this all started when it looks very, very solid that an engineer at Apple lost an iPhone. And don't know how he got it. Don't know whether he was supposed to have it. That's immaterial. He was in a German like Kaiser House bar, just like you would have seen in Hogan's Heroes that the boys are trying to escape, and just left it behind. Somebody found it. Let's put that word in quotes.
Now you're telling Gizmodo's story though, so
well,
is it credible?
they're providing a lot of they're really sticking their necks out pretty far if they're claiming that this thing was if this thing was actually stolen and they're claiming that it wasn't.
Okay.
Because
it is fairly credible. They give a lot of detail.
Yeah, but the flip side of that is that they're giving no details about the person who found this device. They are also giving slightly contradictory stories about how they came to find out who actually originally owned the device and their attempts to return it. But maybe we're getting ahead of things.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to start with the Engadget, which is
exactly.
There were some pictures, some blurry pictures.
There were some very good, very casual but very good pictures. The sort of thing where if you had your camera phone and you had plenty of time to hold something in your hand and take a picture of it, a series of pictures of this phone from multiple angles. That appeared on Engadget. Engadget was presented these photos not as evidence that they had access to an actual pre-production unannounced iPhone, but only that, hey, look at these cool pictures we came across of a phone that was found inside a bar in the San Francisco Bay Area. They themselves, again, were a little bit skeptical about it. They followed it up.
This was April 17th, just to give you the timeline. 3 days ago.
This was Saturday night.
Yep.
Shortly thereafter, I guess one of their own people noticed that, took another look at a photo of a prototype iPad that they posted the day before the iPad was officially announced. So again, it was a typical blurry, like, we're going to get killed if anyone sees me do this. Quickly get a camera phone picture of this bolted down iPad. Great, put it back in your pocket because it's very blurry. It's a very low quality picture. But someone noticed that in the upper corner of this blurry photo, there is a blurry object that looks a lot like that exact same iPhone. In the few hours between the first pictures and that second post, a lot of people had made the comment that, gee, I think this looks a lot like an Asian knockoff iPhone.
You too, because you had one, right?
Well, I didn't have one exactly like this. I'd seen a couple of different people had been posting pictures of hey, my dad works in Japan and he has a phone exactly like this, and here's a picture of it from a couple of different sides. I posted something late at night after looking at it, thinking that chiefly because this was a good opportunity to talk about knockoffs. It really did look like a knockoff phone. It looked like not a counterfeit. I have a counterfeit iPhone that looks exactly like an iPhone 3GS, including the Apple logo on the back and the boilerplate on the back. As a matter of fact, if you put mine, I posted a photo on my blog that night. If you put mine right next to an iPhone 3GS, you would not know from the back which one was which. That as a way of describing, well, you know, this supposed prototype iPhone, you take a look at the back of it, and it does have the Apple logo. It does have all the FCC information on the back of it. That, as a way of illustrating that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It just means that it's a pretty good knockoff and nothing else. So that's where it sort of stood, where you could either believe that it was a prototype or manufacturing sample or an engineering sample that somehow got off the ranch, or you could just not believe it, and that's kind of where it stood. Then on Monday, and oddly enough, Gizmodo had nothing to say about this, and usually Gizmodo and Engadget are really in high competition with each other. If one of them gets something that the other one does not, the first thing that other competing site wants to do is have some sort of a comment about it.
I think that's fairly important to underscore, because that's really what prompts this whole thing, is this rush to be the first, rush to beat the other guy, right?
Yeah, and that's a feature of some of these sites, because there is still a need for people to get breaking news out there. The worry is that if you define your journalism by the fact that you got it out before anybody else, that kind of encourages you to cut corners, or gives you the temptation at least to cut corners. Right. Well, on Monday, Gizmodo came out with a full-blown, hands-on. We have that sample iPhone in our hands right now. Here are pictures of us with it. We have taken
it was the same
apart.
one too. It was very clearly the same one.
It was the exact same one taken apart, and so they had it had been remote disabled, just like you can via MobileMe. So they couldn't get it started, but they took it apart and identified all the parts inside as Apple parts, and so that's where it went. Now, the interesting thing, though, is that it has since come to light. I've been talking to a bunch of people. I also talked to the owner of Gizmodo, and he confirmed this, that whoever found this device offered it both to Engadget and Gizmodo. The editor-in-chief of Engadget talked to the Wall Street Journal today and said that we were offered it, we were offered a price for it, we talked to our lawyers, and our lawyers said, no way, don't come anywhere near this.
It is illegal in California to buy known stolen merchandise, right?
Well, not only stolen merchandise, but lost merchandise.
Even then, even if it fell off the back of a truck.
essentially, if it's not been established that the person who's selling this to you has the right to sell it to you, has title to this property,
actually,
they can't
John
sell it to
Gruber
you.
in his current most recent blog post quotes California's lost property statute. One who finds, this is from the statutes, one who finds lost property under circumstances which give him knowledge of or means of inquiry as to the true owner, and who appropriates such property to his own use or to the use of another person not entitled thereto without first making reasonable and just efforts to find the owner and to restore the property to him, is guilty of theft.
Yeah. And this is where Gizmodo, I believe, started to feel some of the heat after they posted that first piece, because later on Monday they posted two different follow-up pieces. One, because I posted a follow-up to my Saturday night post asking the question that, okay, where the hell did they get this from? Because that's a very, very fishy story that, it is, Apple security is legendary, of course, especially on unannounced products. It seems beyond understanding that someone would have just simply, found this in a bar, that someone had it and someone actually lost it in a bar. And so their claim later on, they buttressed this later on, I'm betting to stave off inquiries by folks like me that, gee, is it possible that someone stole this off the Apple campus, gave you this story about finding it just to give themselves a small amount of cover, and you just simply believed what they wanted to believe? So they came out with another follow-up saying that, well, now we know exactly the Apple engineer who lost the phone, which was interesting in that it told us almost nothing of real value. It merely amplified the story that they told, saying, well, here is the name of the person who lost it. Here's photos of the person who lost it. We just took photos off
from the phone.
Off their social media. Right. No, not off the phone.
From the Facebook.
Off their Facebook profile.
Yeah.
What they revealed, and this was something that I could not get the Gizmodo's owner to talk about last night, is they made the statement that the person who found the phone had access to the working version of this before it was wiped long enough to notice that there was a Facebook app on there and that the Facebook app was tied to this specific person. Then Gizmodo gets their hands on it about a week ago, has had it for about a week. And Gizmodo told me last night that they couldn't find out who owned this phone until Monday afternoon. So they're not willing to talk about when they got the information about where this Facebook profile came from, because they're saying that that's how they found out who originally left that phone behind. Again, they had not only pictures of the guy, but they also had all the Facebook status updates that he was making from the phone from the bar, saying, "Oh wow, this is really tasty German beer," that sort of stuff. So they really need to explain. If the original finder of this phone had this information, did the finder not give this information to Gizmodo? Did Gizmodo have it, but they realized that once they know who this belongs to and how to get it back to them, that sort of limits the freedom to take it apart and do what they want with it. There's a lot of questions they haven't answered yet. The last piece of the puzzle, the last piece that they dropped after telling the story about how the phone got found, was that, look, after they found the guy, they sent him an email, they called him.
This was, by the way, a month ago, March 18th, that they claim he lost this.
They claim they lost it March
on his birthday. Yeah,
they claim that they've only had it for about a week or so. So the timeline's a little bit fuzzy, but they're not saying they've had it since the 18th. But the big deal is that they called the guy, actually had printed a transcript of this short conversation with him, in which he says he sounds suitably nervous and and mortified. Says, I've forwarded the information that you just sent to me to the right guys, and hopefully they'll be in touch soon. And then quickly after that, Apple sent them an email and a paper letter, I believe, saying that, "Hi, we understand that you have possession of Apple property. We would very much like that back. How do we arrange the handover of the device?" And in the midst of this piece that they published, they said that, well, number one, this is our first absolutely solid confirmation that this is indeed an Apple iPhone, because we found all kinds of Apple stuff inside it, but Apple now is claiming that this is their phone and they want it back, and we're happily giving it back to them. And then they also quote something peculiar. After the transcript of the conversation with the lawyer, they say, "And we're glad that we've done everything that we legally had to do, and that our hands are completely legally clean, and we legally didn't do anything illegal legally," and quoted something that their lawyers, the Gizmodo's lawyers, had advised them. The section of the passage that apparently they wanted us to focus on was the bit in which they say that they have to give it back to the rightful owner as soon as that person identifies themselves. But there's an earlier passage that they're quoting that says that their lawyer told them that under California law, lost property, the title to lost property does not transfer to the finder for some years after that thing has been found. So it seems as though they're saying in front of millions of readers that they knew damn well, under advice of attorney, that the person who sold them this iPhone did not have the right to sell it to them. And though whether it was stolen from the Apple campus, which I don't think it was, or whether it was legitimately lost, which is what I think happened, they simply knew going into this that they did not have the right to take this apart. They did not have the right to do anything other than send this right back to Apple, send this right back to the person that they knew lost it, or bring in law enforcement to say, hey, guess what? This guy has just offered to sell us hinky property for $5,000, which is the amount of money that Gizmodo paid.
$5,000? Wow.
$5,000. I also asked him, did the finder name a price or did you offer it? He said he didn't really know, but the direct quote is that if he didn't offer to sell it, we offered to buy it. So their intentions were always clear. He's the owner of Gawker is very much on record.
Nick Denton you're talking about?
Yeah. He's very much on record as saying that he believes in checkbook journalism, which is sometimes naughty, sometimes okay if you do it correctly. But he just basically believes that if information is for sale, he's got the checkbook open, he's willing to buy it.
Well, newspapers routinely buy photos, for instance. But there's something about buying somebody else's property that's a little fishy.
Well, it's a complicated issue. The best example in defense of Gizmodo paying money for this information was the expenses scandal in the UK last year, where the Daily Telegraph paid some very, very substantial six-figure sum for a hard drive containing like a full terabyte of expense reports from basically every government official and MP.
Well, I'm sure as many people have pointed out that British law is very different in this regard.
Yeah, well, but there are two different. I consider there to be two different issues. There's what's legal, and then there's what's right.
Moral.
Sometimes when you want to do what's best for your readers, you have to say, I would prefer not to give this guy $5,000 for this device, but we have an obligation to our readers to, if we have access to this information and we believe that it's information that they could benefit from having, we will run this by our lawyers, but our inclination is going to be to do what's right for our readers. I'm not sure if I totally believe that. I think that their motivation was getting lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of page clicks, but that's something that only Gawker can explain.
Well, and that's the key to the backstory, is that there is a very competitive field, this gadget blog stuff. All right, we're going to take a break. That's the setup. There are several things to talk about. Of greatest interest to our audience is the phone itself. And Andy, you have some thoughts about that. I know some of you do as well. And we're going to find out probably in June. So this isn't like, urgent material. But secondly, the journalistic issues, the legal issues, and boy, what a foofara this is. We are, it's really, I have to say, if nothing else, it's fascinating and fun to talk about. But we will talk more about that in just a sec. Before we do that, I do want to mention a product that is brand new from one of our sponsors, and I think you need to know about it. It's called GoToTraining. And, it's so new, I don't have a lower third to describe it, so you'll just have to, those of you watching at home, imagine that below me there is a link to GoToTraining.com. That's where you could try this for free. You know, the folks at Citrix do GoToMeeting, GoToMyPC. They do the great remote access for enterprise called Citrix. They really are, GoToAssist. GoToMeeting's the newest, brand new. It's for training. I'm sorry, go to training. GoToTraining.com. 200 people could participate live. You could present any document or application just as you would with GoToMeeting. But you can also present the session yourself or include experts from other places in the world. There are feedback mechanisms from your attendees, including a polling feature, integrated chat, so that it can really be two-way integration. You can upload an entire library of materials should you choose ahead of time. This saves you a lot of money in terms of materials. Integrated testing, which you've got to have if you're going to do training, and reporting systems as well. You can give attendees evaluation forms for the session, view results. If you record the session, you can then make it on demand for later viewing. I mean, this is a fantastic e-learning tool. Of course it is. It's from the folks at Citrix. Screen sharing, presenter control can be passed from one computer to another. There's voice over IP. There's chat. There's session recording. All the stuff you need to do training. Now, here's the chance to try it for free. Up to 200 people, by the way. There's also a 20% discount if you purchase a 12-month plan. But I think the best thing to do is go to GoToTraining.com. If you are an IT manager, you might want to bring up GoToTraining at your next staff meeting. If you are a trainee and you've put yourself through some of these abysmal other solutions, you might want to go to your trainer and say, you want to look at GoToTraining? And if you're
stuck in Europe.
If you're stuck in Europe, that's a good point. This is going to be great for Citrix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Holy cow, I didn't even think of that. If you can't travel, GoToTraining does the travel for you. GoToTraining.com. We thank Citrix so much. They are such big supporters of this show. And we thank them for their support and encourage you to give them a try if it's something that meets your needs. GoToTraining.com. I don't know where we should begin. Let's begin with the phone, because I think that's, all of the Sturm und Drang aside, I think we can agree now, thanks to this letter from Apple, that was a prototype of some kind. But you made a point, Andy, that it is not very polished.
I mean, it's
got screws on it. It's square.
Yeah, I mean, there's something that I missed, or rather, I misread from one of the earliest descriptions of how it was found. A lot of people. One of the reasons why I didn't think it was necessarily an Apple product, I thought it might have been a knockoff on Saturday night, was that it's not a very Apple-looking thing. It's a very flat slab of electronics with rounded edges and exposed, and a couple of screws you can actually get at.
You said it's the kind of thing you make if you want to make a cheap knockoff.
I use that piece as a way to explain like what knockoffs look like and why I thought this was knockoff like. You start to the question that people answer when they design a knockoff is, how can I take this original and make it cheaper, build it more cheaply than this? And one of the things you do is cut down on the tooling. But one detail from the story of how it was found.
Go ahead, Jason's video is going to play in the background.
One story about how it was found was that it was actually encased in a stock iPhone 3GS shell, so that when it was on the bar, it didn't look like this weird, flat, rounded off sandwich of electronics. So my theory is, one possible theory is that this is by no means the final design, the consumer design of the phone. It was designed to be flat, a little bit narrower, and a little bit thinner, so that it could fit into this special iPhone 3GS shell and be used in the open without attracting attention.
It's a testing prototype. I mean, this guy, the engineer, is the broadband engineer. Baseband engineer, so he does the phone radio,
right?
Tests.
The bottom line is, I don't think that we should make any assumptions that this is what the next iPhone is going to look like in any way. It's possible that this is what it's going to look like, but it's possible that this was just let's build a cheap case just so it can be carried around. Also, let's make it slightly smaller than an iPhone 3GS to make sure that we could hide it inside a standard iPhone 3GS shell and camouflage it effectively. It would also explain why the volume buttons, for instance, instead of being a rocker switch, they're two very, very large buttons, like circles. Right. Yeah. That would be exactly what you would do if you were going to be having little plastic like pusher switches on the outside that simply had to push in a little tab that simply made contact with the mechanical buttons inside. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened. I'm saying that that's something that was definitely occurring to me as I'm looking at this.
That said, I think it looks really cool.
Really? You'd want this?
I'd like it.
I don't like it.
I like it.
It's very industrial. It doesn't have the sleek. Merlin, what do you think?
Which part?
I know. Pick any part. Pick any part.
Well, to what you're talking about right now.
Let's talk about the phone.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that frustrates me a little bit about the current iPhone, I've got these, like a lot of nerds, I've got these Etymotics with a pretty good microphone and, little in-ear buds. And I love them to death. But, there's times where, it's windy and you got to grab the phone, you're walking around. And for whatever reason, you got to kind of do that thing where you stick it under your chin a little bit.
I do that all the time,
And it always, I don't know. There's just, sometimes when I handle especially the 3GS, it feels a little bit hard to kind of hold.
Slippery.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not necessarily saying this would make a huge difference, but in addition to agreeing with the people who say it does look very Dieter Rams in terms of the design, which is a huge influence on Apple's design. If you go look at, there's lots of photos out of stuff Dieter Rams was making.
Is he Bauhaus? Is this Bauhaus?
He's the guy who designed. He worked at Braun, I believe.
Oh, Braun. It is. It looks like a Braun shaver. You're right.
He's in that. Gary Huswitz movie.
Mm-hmm. Objectify.
Yeah. Anyway, he's probably. I think. I'm not sure if he did the calculator that Apple ripped off, but anyway, he's a fantastic designer. And looking at that, I have to say, like, that looks more for lack of a better word, industrial. It looks more like an appliance that I would feel good putting under my chin while I'm wearing a jacket.
It'd bite right into that chin and really give you a good grip.
Giant chin of mine, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I don't follow what's his name, Yoni Ives, or I don't follow that stuff that carefully. Where I can say, is that his name, Yoni? Johnny?
I think
Johnny.
he pronounces it Johnny.
I thought. Oh, you say Johnny?
Does he say Yoni?
I don't know. Andy, what do you say?
I think it's Johnny.
Yeah, he looks like he'd be a Yoni or a Lingam.
I've never had the pleasure.
Yeah, he's
British.
He seems like he'd punch a guy.
Yeah, if you call him Yoni.
Yeah, that's no good. That's like a yoga weenus.
It does. It's like Lingam.
Lingam and Yoni.
Hey, Lingam Ives. And his sister
Look at
Yoni.
me, I'm tantric. But it does look more holdable. I mean, there's a part of me that like, God, you can't really dignify Nick Denton, but if you, it gives him the appearance of dignity to even talk about this. Where in law they call it, fruit of the poison tree. I'm reluctant to even talk about anything except what a tool he is and the way he's handled this. But I know he likes that. He's like
he doesn't mind. He got the clicks.
No, he's like the kid at the playground. He starts out eating boogers for a nickel, but pretty soon he just likes the attention so much he does it for free. But he's a good man, and. I could see it going either way. I agree. I think the curviness,
unlike George Washington,
the curviness is starting to look just the tiniest bit dated.
Oh yeah,
I think I don't have an opinion one way or another. I have no way of knowing. But as I look at that, I could see that very much becoming the design for other stuff. Not least because anybody who's ever had to pack a car knows why you use boxes instead of barrels. Square edges fit more stuff.
These fit better into the Chinese containers.
Well, and also I think that it looks closer to the iPad. It's it's square. I mean, if you look at the two of them next to each other, the current iPhone and the iPad are two different worlds. This one definitely looks like it's part of the iPad world and less part of the old iPhone look. So
I think Apple got wise some time ago to the Detroit notion that the best way to get people to buy new gear is to make the old gear look out of date.
Right.
So they started it with, I think, OS 10, where they
the iMac. I think the iMac.
iMac's a good example. Yeah.
Or for that matter, CX's, FX's. Like pretty soon, that thing that used to be so cool because it. Remember in the original manual for the Mac, they would show it like in somebody's handlebars on their bike, or it's.
Yeah.
I remember hearing, it's the first computer that'll fit under the seat in front of you on a plane. But no, I think that's a very big part of what they do. They know people buy on that design. And, for the folks who do, I don't know. I mean, the description, I guess I'm going to say almost everything I know came from Gruber and especially Andy. But I agree that looks a lot more substantial in some ways.
See, the thing is, I mean, for the great distance that Gizmodo stuck out their necks, they really came through with practically nothing because because they have a case. All they do, they have pictures of a case that may or may not have any relevance to an actual final shipping product. So I don't want to. I'm not even going to talk about whether that's a good design or not. Disassembly of this phone revealed a lot of things that everyone pretty much assumed were going to be on the next iPhone anyway.
What's in there?
The ceramics, right?
So they found a front-facing camera. Bonus.
Yay, love that.
They found a rear-facing camera that was a better camera and also had an assisted LED illuminator on it. Good. A larger battery. Good. Although perhaps the larger battery isn't there to extend airtime so much as to power a much higher definition screen. It had been dumped remotely, so all that would happen when it was charged up is that you get the standard "please connect to iTunes" screen. But Gizmodo was reporting that screen was much higher resolution and much higher definition. Don't know. Probably not AMOLED. I'm not even going to conjecture.
Love
about
to see an OLED screen.
But they didn't. But there was nothing. It wasn't the bombshell that anybody would have hoped for. It was the things that you had expected to find in the phone that we all know is going to be released sometime in one of the J months. They did find on this prototype. It's not like that's not without value, but really that's of such low value that
this is the
value is they got a lot of play.
Look at all the play.
It doesn't matter whether it had any value at all.
I'm talking about value to readers.
Right.
What's your raison d'etre as a gadget blog? If that's the kind of thing you want to do, if that's going to be your mission in life to have a gadget blog, like what's the most valuable thing you do? Well, if you do it really, really well, you help people understand how to make a smart buying decision. And if you're really, really good at it and you're Joel Johnson, who's exquisitely good at this. He's really good at something I just could care less about, which is like blah, blah, something new junk. And he does it really, really well because he shows you in a Clay Shirky-like way. I don't know why I've been talking so much about Clay, but this like, here's where the future is going with this stuff. And he's great at that. Okay, so what do we have?
Who does Joel Johnson write for?
For Gizmodo.
Okay.
He practically got dumped though because he couldn't meet his quota. But I'm going to stand by my toot, which is like Nick Denton wanted to build traffic for a gadget blog by buying a stolen phone that doesn't work. That is the story. He has a stolen phone that doesn't work, and that is what the attention. So is this the business you want to be in? Is this what you want to do for a living? Because like right now, that's a Valleywag story. That's a crappy Valleywag story.
Except he's Gawker. He's the CEO of Gawker. That he runs Valleywag.
He is. But even if just because Nick wants to set a standard that's low enough for him to fit under, doesn't mean it's something that I want to acknowledge as being okay. Well, I think part of the reason the web is starting to suck so hard is because we go, oh, it's Nick Denton.
Right.
Well, the guy's using a lot of his money and power to do a lot of really, really crappy and sad stuff that makes all of us look like we're living in a bad neighborhood. And I think it's not fancy to stand up and say that's not cool.
Well, he spent. I mean, my problem. I mean, of course, I was fascinated by the photos and looked at them and everything else, and then it sunk in very quickly that Gizmodo spent $5,000 and took a kid who's 26 years old who may or may not have accidentally left something in a bar at his birthday party, and they destroyed his career.
Why did they publish his name? Why did they do all of that?
Here's the thing. Well, it doesn't matter. Apple would know who it is. I mean,
I can tell you why. I can tell you why. First of all, it gives them more of exactly what. It's what they've done on at least a couple occasions that I'm aware of, which is that something comes up that sounds really fishy. They trickle little details to keep the interest up and to get a string of posts. It happened on a weekend, so they had to find a way. There's no traffic on a Saturday, not compared to a Monday. Everybody knows Monday is the biggest traffic day, and it goes downhill again until the next Monday. Everybody knows that. So they had to make a big Monday story. And I'll tell you exactly who I blame in the last instance for this, which is Gizmodo's readers, the people who eat this stuff with a giant spoon. Because that's exactly who they're serving by doing this kind of personal attack story against this guy and holding him up to ridicule in this really, and I mean, so much of what they've said here is so condescending. Yeah. This Jason Chen guy writing this letter about giving Apple advice on how they should treat this guy as he acknowledges that this was a stolen phone they bought. Well, it's like,
the thing is that as I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether they really thought about this. I mean, I can only imagine that they did and didn't care. But I mean, I don't know what you have to sign when you work at Apple. But I can tell you that what you have to sign when I worked at Lucasfilm, it was aggressive. I mean, it wasn't just that I'd lose my job if something fell out about Star Wars. It was like they will take legal action on what they think that they lost as a result of the leak.
You have liability.
I mean, that was and the thing is that that kind of it's that's what you do when you work at somewhere that it's secret. I mean, that's in commercial secret. You get government secret, and it's like you'll disappear. So but the point is that Apple is really. I can only imagine what he signed, and I don't know whether Apple's going to go down that path. But the point is that it is a big deal, and the fact that they paid money and they create an environment that has people that if they didn't steal this one, people will try to steal the next one. And then the thing is they're creating an environment of this, and I do think it's seriously uncool, to go down this path. I hope Apple goes after him. I hope that, if it's criminal, I hope that they press charges. I hope Apple. I mean, the thing is that if it turns out to be illegal, I think Apple can do a lot of damage, and at least they'll keep Gizmodo's lawyers busy for a long time.
And it'll keep their readers hanging on the edge.
Yep.
This is how a tabloid works. Nick comes from Britain, and he comes from a tabloid background, and I don't know what anybody ever did to him to make him the way he is. But he seems perfectly satisfied that as long as his name gets spelled right, he's winning. So, I mean, we're serving his own sad interests by talking about this because it's an important thing we need to talk about. But there's a whole tone to Gawker. And Gawker Prime, Gawker.com, which I think is a wholly improved, better property than almost all the other ones put together. They do a certain kind of snarkiness better than almost anybody. But there's a kind of reflexive, ironic distance that is very well received by their readership that is becoming endemic to the way we think about any serious issue on the web. And you get treated like some kind of fancy jerk because you want to talk seriously about how adults should behave. And I think at a certain point, we need to stop excusing that and acting like this is a 12-year-old boy. This is a grown man who hires people to harm other people.
To me, the only full stop no justification, no possible defense act that they did was being so explicit and so specific about outing this engineer. It's enough I could understand their desire to be defensive and say there are a lot of people who seem to be thinking that we knew this was stolen property, or that we knew that someone stole this off the Apple campus, or even that we bankrolled the theft of this device. We need to establish that the story that we gave, that this was lost carelessly inside a bar and then whoever found it brought it to us, we need to underscore that by furnishing the guy who actually lost it. You can do that without saying, here is his picture, here is his Facebook status, here's a link to his Flickr page. By all means, dogpile on this guy, because isn't dogpiling fun? I mean, the guy.
Do you think that matters to their readers, though, Andy? I mean, I see them knowing their readers so well that they can feed them exactly the spoonful of dog crap that they're willing to eat every day 12 times or however often they. I'm not
willing to conjecture about what the readers like.
Do you understand what I mean? Though I don't think they feel like.
I'm saying that I could name any cable channel that has lots of programming that I really, really like and I think is really, really well done. That doesn't mean that I approve of everything they do and every piece that they do. So I personally don't want to lump all of Gawker's audience into a dog pile of people who would love to see that picture and didn't go, ooh, that was a bad thing for Gawker to have done when they saw that updated post.
Didn't we all have that reaction?
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, the thing is that they repeatedly had opportunities to
do the right thing,
and they repeatedly decided not to. I mean, this isn't like they made one little oops, we didn't think about that, or we didn't think that all the way out. Over and over and over again, they had an opportunity to do the right thing, and they repeatedly they did the wrong thing. Well,
see, the thing is, though, the right thing to do can be something that you can choose for yourself and defend that choice. Where the BS comes in is when they get really, really coy and really, really cute about giving one version of the story, and then when that's not playing quite so well, or where you need to goose things up a little bit, presenting another side of another perspective on the story. Because this person that quote found unquote this iPhone, and of course tried really, really hard to return it to the guy, to find some guy at the bar that it belonged to, but like on Don Quixote, he just tried to do the right thing, but gosh darn it, he just failed in that quest. Right. They really need to. That a lot of secrets are with that person. Because he's the guy who found it. He's the guy who in Silicon Valley. It's not ridiculous to think that someone said, "Hey, this is not an iPhone anybody has seen before. This is a very real iPhone. It's not even a knockoff. This is very, very valuable. I just got beer money for the next 5 years."
Well, and the thing is that
know what to do with it. So you really have to evaluate what that guy was out for, what their knowledge was, and what the proper relationship was going to be. So.
Right. I'm with you. I have to say, I'm with you, Merlin. It's a shameful thing, and it's something that maybe we should, as a group, censure and call attention to, because maybe if we stand up, it won't happen as much. I mean, it's just really terrible.
I mean, there's all kinds of angles to this that are interesting. If we get past the idea that my hang up on this is that I'm reluctant to talk about it just because it's exactly why he did what he did.
Yeah, we have to, though, don't we?
It is, to use an old term, it's a publicity stunt.
Right.
Here's the thing, and to Andy's point, if you are a journalist, and I mean, even using this in the same sentence as a journalist to me is just, it's asinine. You look at something like the kind of work John Gruber does, that's journalism.
Right.
That's a guy who goes out and gets his facts straight. And if you were a journalist, you would, go watch All the President's Men. Every day they went to press with whatever they could prove that day.
Right.
Okay? But here's what they didn't do. They didn't find out everything that they knew for the next 6 months in one day and then trickle it in order to keep subscriptions up.
Right.
That is really crappy.
Right.
And to Andy's point, I mean, I stand by what I said, which is they understand their audience well enough to know that most of these folks, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm impugning people, move on. If you really had a problem with this, you wouldn't be sitting there building these 800 comment threads. Sure, some people are against it, but it's triple page views for every comment. Well, so if you do trickle this, though, here's all I was going to say. You may know exactly how this ends. It's just you're not going to tell anybody because you don't have a reason to. You don't have a reason to, and it benefits you to trickle this and to go, tune in next week to find out if Tonto makes it off the cliff.
Well, and the other thing is when that English, I can't think of the English guy who makes fun of bloggers and everything. The journalist.
Yeah,
Charlie.
No, Andrew Keene.
Andrew Keene. When Andrew Keene talks about why this isn't really journalism, what he's talking about is what we're looking at right here.
Yeah.
This is why he says that this isn't really journalism. It's not any better. It's and we have the opportunity to be journalists, and we have the opportunity to do that. And Gizmodo undermines that when they do stuff like this.
One more thing, I'll just throw this in that John Gruber points out in his blog. The jokey tone of Brian Lamb's post reporting the letter from Apple and the focus on the, quote, "see, we're giving it back" angle distracts from the most interesting aspect. John is very good at picking these little subtleties up. Lamb quotes his own response to Sewell, the Apple counsel, wherein he writes, quote, "Happy to have you pick this thing up, was burning a hole in our pockets. Just so you know, we didn't know this was stolen when we bought it."
Right.
Stolen, not lost.
His words.
Stolen. And he, in the blog post, I don't know if it's Chen or Lamb, is saying, this whole, I don't know if it's fabricated story about the bar, but he said stolen.
Well, the thing is that how could you find this is the thing that a judge is going to look at is, how could you find something that is secret and assume that it wasn't?
I would assume
stolen.
And the minute you offer $5,000 or pay $5,000 for it, you, as you said, the smell of sulfur is in the air. All right.
Can I just say just one tiny thing about it? And I don't want to sound like I'm just trying to piss from the high ground about this. Everybody's fine to make any decision that they want in life and live with it. But to Andy's point, yes. First of all, I think when you do things that when constantly placed next to each other are not congruous. And when you are in a position of power, I'm making a case that's really far more flimsy from a logical and legal standpoint, which is just that they're not doing the right thing. And that as somebody who cares a lot about what is going to happen on the web over the next 10 years, that's a hit for everybody. It's I think there is a case to be made for saying this would not have been as much of a story if this was an Android phone that wasn't released. I think it feels like it's a story of the little guy getting back because Apple's so secretive and boy didn't we show them. Personally, whatever. I get that. I get that angle. I'm making a much more, I think, subtle and hard to prove case, which is just I think it sucks when people act like jerks and then try and make a bunch of money off it. I think it's lame. And I think if we don't call it out as lame, we kind of tacitly say that it's okay for him to set that example for personal publishers everywhere.
And I got to say there would have been, for the person who found it, all I got to say if you're listening to this is there would have been some serious good Apple karma if you had brought that back to Cupertino. Probably would have gotten to talk to Steve.
And this isn't the Pentagon Papers. This isn't some revelation that changes the world, that it came out, that ends the war. This is just a phone that's going to be out in a couple of months anyway.
Right.
At best.
But if it was your wallet with your kids' pictures in it, and somebody went out there and talked about how stupid you were to leave it in a bar, you'd be bummed.
Well, I have to feel, we have not said the name of the guy. Of course, Apple would know who it is, whether it's this guy or not. I don't know. I'm not going to mention the guy's name. And I think we should just, I feel for him. I really do. Whatever consequences are. And who knows if he even is real. Right? We don't even know, right?
I just got an image of a YouTube video that someone is probably going to make of just that picture of the engineer from his Facebook with a beer, rendered in black and white, slow pull in, and then Earl Woods' voiceover. The question is, did you learn anything? I tried to think about what you did.
No. Okay, somebody's going to make that YouTube video before this show is over, I think.
I was thinking more of Arrested Development, and that's why you don't leave your phone in a bar.
No, if this happened in 1988, this would be a Pauly Shore movie.
Yeah. And somebody pointed out that I did tweet his name, and I did when that article broke. I said, here's the guy you don't want to be. I shouldn't have tweeted his name, and I apologize. Although linking back to the article is pretty much the same thing. So at the time, I was just stunned. And it was only later I realized, boy, I feel bad about this guy. One more thing that's worth bringing up on this, and then we'll move on to other important stories. I was surprised the number of people on Twitter and elsewhere who said, oh, this is an Apple publicity stunt. Any credibility to that at all?
I don't think so.
That's
not their style.
They need the publicity. They need the buzz.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, also, Apple's big thing, and there are lots of stories that I can't tell about this, but they are so obsessed about maintaining control over publicity and maintaining control over the story before it's released into the general public. Once things ship into consumers' hands, they realize it's out of their hands. But before that day approaches, they want to make sure that they absolutely control. They're going to try to maintain control over every part of the story they possibly can. So the idea of them simply putting a phone like this out in the field and being okay with knowing that it's likely going to fall into the hands of somebody who's going to take it apart and do all kinds of speculation about it, and not only that, but review it based on the shape of the USB connector as graphically represented on that screen. We took the prototype iPhone out into the bright sun next to the Google Nexus One, and we found that the colors are much more sharper on the Nexus One than on this one. Apple seems to have its first loser on its hands.
Right. You wouldn't do that.
But also, Andy, back me up on this. But I mean, in my experience, I've got a few friends that work at Apple. And while I wouldn't describe them as raving paranoiacs, I will say that it's not even a question. I mean, the one way in which that place is Orwellian, without any question, is there's not even any need to say, go be careful. They have stuff in place at every turn that would boggle your mind in terms of they've got some Area 51 areas that you don't even know are there. Right. But also, I mean, I'm curious to see if you guys agree based on what you know. I mean, nobody there knows anything that they don't need to know that day.
And they're not even interested. The thing is, what's fascinating in the culture.
Because you want plausible deniability. In case it does get out, because there are canary traps, as Andy has pointed out. And they will find out who leaked what. And I guess what I'm getting at is this. You don't have to say that at Apple. And B, knowing that they have a public image for that, I'd say the thing that they would be least likely to do is try and minimize that sense of self-censoring fear by leaking something that gave them absolutely nothing but a feeling of powerlessness.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to move on. There's other stuff.
Cool phone.
Yeah. Other stuff. And I think everybody agrees that we will find out what the actual next generation iPhone is. As you said, Andy, in the J months.
And then we'll buy it.
I have been reminded that January is a month that starts with J. Although I'll backpedal and say that January is the time when they sneak preview stuff that's going to be shipping in July and June. So
has it not been June every year for 3 years? Is it not? I think it has.
Yep.
I would be surprised if it's not June again.
Yeah. I think it's going to be
to kind of back that up. iPhone 4 Beta 2 just came out today, so I think they're moving in a fairly rapid clip,
right,
toward release. Apple just posted a new version of the OS 4 firmware for the iPhone and iPod Touch, and according to App Advice, the Apple iPhone Apps.com, former Apple iPhone Apps.com until the lawyers got a hold of it. AppAdvice.com says the most interesting update I can see for now is an extended time limit for app multitasking. In Beta 1, a closed app could ask for 5 extra minutes to complete its task. Now you can ask for 10 minutes.
I'm working here.
Before you get frozen. All right, taking a break. Coming back, we're going to talk about we do have a date now for the iPad. Two dates for the iPad 3G. And I'll give you those in a second. But before we do that, I do want to mention Drobo. That sounds like a drum roll when I say Drobo. The new Drobo FS, the Drobo Elite, the Drobo S, the original Drobo. We've got deals on them all at the big Drobo store. Just go to drobo.com /MacBreak. DROBO.com/MacBreak for $75 to $500 off. The new
I hold a Drobo record.
What's the Drobo record?
I was actually the first person in the world to buy, with my own money, the Drobo S.
The brand new one.
Not the brand new one.
The FS.
The one that,
you got the Drobo S with 5 bays.
Yeah, with the 5 bays.
Got it.
I literally bought it that morning. I needed it. I needed something to deliver. We actually deliver content to one of our clients in a Drobo. Like it's a lot of content, and so we just
that's a good idea.
Well, they asked me.
Do they send you the enclosure back and keep the hard drives?
No. They keep the Drobo. Thing? That's part of the.
Can I be your client?
It's a big project. So
that's a great idea.
They love it. Well, what happened was we did it the first year. I did it the Drobo, and then the second year that was like they asked. They said, "So we're going to get another Drobo, aren't we?" And I was like, Yes, we're going to get you another
free Drobos for all of Alex Lindsay's clients. But I hope, Alex, you're going to drobo.com/MacBreak when you pick them up, because you're going to need that rebate if you keep this up. So what is Drobo? We should explain what Drobo is. It is a, well, in its simplest form, it is a hard drive enclosure, starting with the original Drobo, which has 4 bays, 4 drives. And if you're familiar with RAID, it's kind of like RAID, but it's their own version.
It's RAID that you don't have to think about.
Yeah, and it has some advantages over RAID. For instance, it allows you to mix and match drive sizes. With RAID 5, you know, the lowest drive becomes the default size for all of 4 disks. In this case, it just adds them up. It does have full redundancy, which is very nice. So if you lose a drive, no problem. Put a new one in and it rebuilds.
And you don't even do anything. Like I've had a drive go bad in a Drobo. You pop it out, you put a new drive in, you let it sit there for a little while, it kind of cooks and figures it out. But I'm still using the drive. You know, it's not even that you have to. You don't have to stop using the drive, and it's and the drives are all different size, and you can. And I have 2 of them sitting in my house. We've got the Elite at our office that we edit off of, and it is they're great machines.
We love the Drobo.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to belabor that point. You must all know it. The Drobo S is 5 bays, same idea as the 4-bay original, higher performance as well as more space. The Drobo Pro for small businesses and creative teams, 8 disk bays. The Drobo Elite, 8 disk bays, but it's a SAN, so it supports up to 16 computer connections and has dual gigabit Ethernet ports using iSCSI, which is, well, let me put it this way. If you need iSCSI, you already know what iSCSI is. It is Ethernet, very high speed, hard drive, like local hard drive connections over Ethernet. It's really incredible. Now, here's the deal. Go to drobo.com/MacBreak right now. And you're going to get a special price, $75 to $500 off, depending on what you pick up at the Drobo store. drobo.com/MacBreak. And the coupon code is MacBreakWeekly, all in caps, for that instant rebate. You know, it's not a mail-in rebate. It's instant rebate. Callie Lewis, you can see, it does some videos on the right. You can see the Drobo in action. Interviews with Victor Cayo there and other Drobo users. And then the complete listing of all the Drobos, the Drobo S, FS, Drobo Pro, Drobo Elite, and the original Drobo, and some of the deals you can get. DataRobotics.com makes the Drobo. You can also call them. I guess I'll give you a phone number. Some people prefer to call, I guess. Talk to a human. 866-97-DROBO. 866-97-DROBO, but do make sure to mention MacBreak Weekly if you want to get that special deal. I guess I'll play the jingle here, boys.
Put all of your stuff on a Drobo.
drobo.com/MacBreak. So the date is out. It just came out. Consumer Reports is reporting just minutes ago that if you ordered an iPad 3G early enough, April 30th is the delivery date. April 30th. So I actually have a couple of orders in, and in fact, Apple did send me a note. Because of all the press reports that it was going to be May 7th. Well, I'll tell you about that, too. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. I got a couple of notes from Apple the other day. So I think because of all the press reports that it was going to be May 7th, Apple's kind of forced Apple's hand. To our valued Apple customer, thank you for your recent order of the magical and revolutionary iPad 3G.
Oh, God, Jesus Christ. Every time they refer to it as magical, I honest to God.
It turns fishes into loaves. I don't know what it does. We'd also like to confirm that your order will be shipped in late April as communicated at the time you placed your order. You'll receive a confirmation notice when your order is shipped, and now they are saying April 30th, which is about as late in April as you can get, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
I don't think you can get any later in April. May 7th if you order today. However, I should warn you, this is the other note I got from Apple. Thank you for your recent Apple order. I ordered my 5th iPad. To ensure that all customers are given equal opportunity to acquire this product, we have limited the amount available per customer. Therefore, this order has been canceled.
You know what I think is kind about this? Is it didn't talk about it being magical, revolutionary. They didn't rub it in.
Yes, that's true. They could have said, thank you for your magical and revolutionary order. We've magically canceled it.
Poof. Poof. Sucks to be you. You know,
and this was like several days after I placed the order. I was bummed. So there really is a shortage of these iPads, I would guess. They've already announced they're going to put off the international ship date. Remember that initially they said this has to do with, approval processes and 3G network deals in overseas, and now they're saying, "Man, we just don't have enough of them. We want to serve the American market." So my question is: this a contrived shortage, or is this, a la Nintendo Wii, or is this a real shortage?
No, because the Wii was a serious problem. It left Nintendo without the ability to take money for 2 or 3 months during the height of the holiday season. This merely means that they're not able to keep up with the demand. I'm sure that's going to ramp back up again by the end of the month.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, May 7th isn't the end of the world if you could order one now. And I've been told by a number of people you can walk into an Apple store and get a Wi-Fi iPad, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I was during my weekend, when iPad fever was kind of at its hottest, the first week it was on sale. Remember, I was in Boulder and inadvertently convincing about a dozen different people to go out and get iPads. And one of them was a friend of mine who bought one for herself and her husband, and she just walked right in, paid her money, and walked out with 2. So.
Word in from Steve Jobs. Some buying advice, actually. Another great email. I love Steve.
These are like the best.
I love Steve. You got it. Keep doing this, dude.
Yeah. This is
brilliant.
This is the mystique.
Yeah. And now he's actually answering. If you email Steve, what is this? Is it sjobs@apple.com? Is that it?
Yep.
I believe that's it. Yeah, they very famously, New Yorker did a profile of him in which it was of Bill Gates, in which they said, Bill answers all his email. And that was the end of that. Steve answers some email, apparently from his iPhone. According to TechCrunch, Apple fan and customer Matthew Browning sent a message to Steve Jobs to express a philosophical issue he's starting to have with Apple and moral policing. This was we talked about this last week.
Talk about outing someone. I emailed Steve because I wanted to have porn on my iPhone.
He didn't say that exactly. He mentioned Mark Fiore's comic software, The Satirist. Mark Fiore writes for this SF Gate, the San Francisco Chronicle, and does political satire. And initially, Apple turned down the app, saying you can't mock public figures. So this guy, Matthew Browning, says, I'm all for keeping porn out of kids' hands. Heck, I'm all for ensuring I don't have to see it unless I want to, but that's what parental controls are for. Put these types of apps into categories and allow them to be blocked by their parents should they want to. Jobs, the master of one-liners and catchphrases, allegedly wrote back the following. And you can actually, he sent the information with the header and everything on here. So we're pretty sure it's Steve. Fiore's app will be in the store shortly. That was a mistake. It is, by the way. However, we do believe we have a moral responsibility to keep porn off the iPhone. Folks who want porn can buy an Android phone.
You see, so he's sharing the love. See, it's like the Miracle on 34th Street where Macy's sent customers to Gimbals sent. So basically, the Apple's saying, you know what, perverts, creeps, losers, lowlifes. The line is to the left. Please, we'll drive you to the Google Android.
Do you think
store.
that's what he and Eric were discussing at that coffee shop, at that famous coffee shop meeting?
I'm going to send some folks to you, and let me tell you.
Oh man, can't you go to jail for downloading an app like that?
The content you're going to be able to sell to them. It has funded CD-ROMs. It has funded many editing applications. It has funded cable TV and streaming software. And now you can have it.
That's a completely appropriate response from Apple. If you want USB, if you want a camera, if you want this and that, just there's other stuff. You have choices.
It comes down to my general response to people who think that Apple wants control of everything. They don't want control of everything. They just want control of their own products. And they're not saying that they don't want porn to be available anywhere. They're just saying that they don't think that's a great choice for themselves and stocking up their apps for their own devices.
I can't knock it. I'm happy with it. I don't mind. As long as the only objection that I've ever had is consistency. And I think that Steve's admission that it was a mistake to block the satire goes a long way in my mind to saying, okay, good. So there's some thinking here. They're not trying to block. They're not political speech. They're just trying to keep it clean.
What's interesting about them is it's so funny. People pull this stuff out of there. Oh, so they probably did that because of focus group testing. It's like, well, I don't think they've focus grouped anything since Steve came back.
No.
I think the focus group is like, is Steve going to yell at me?
Yeah.
That's the focus group. But it is. I'll tell you one thing. And again, I'm always referring to this talk that Gruber and I did at South by Southwest a couple of years ago, which I actually am pretty proud of. One of the things we talked about was the sense of when you're writing. One way to have your writing get a lot more lively is to sort of imagine who's reading it. Everybody kind of tacitly assumes that are writing for an audience, but I think you're writing for people. It's like, really rice is really made out of grains. It's not just like one rice. It's like there's a lot of grains. If you imagine the faces of the people that you're writing for, it becomes a lot more precise. You say what you want to say. And there's a part of me that thinks, I know a lot of people that do this and just don't talk about it. I bet you Steve runs through what would these 11 people think of this?
Yeah.
Or like, how would I get these 11 people to go, this is really cool? I'm not saying it governs his whole thinking, but it would not surprise me at all to go, certainly, probably Mossberg or somebody or whoever. There are the kind of like...
He never asked me. Did he ever ask you, Andy?
But I mean,
Merlin?
we're always pulling out these canards about things like our stupid mother and our dumb aunt, our crazy, all these dumb, like really insulting things that we say based on our own, like, narcissism. But I would not be surprised at all if he had specific people he's met in mind and go like, will they pick this up? Like I was just on a podcast with my friend Dan Benjamin. His 2-year-old is doing stuff with his iPad now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a part of him that goes, if I handed this to my nephew, like what would he do that would make all the grown-ups in the room go, wow.
It's pretty cool.
Does that stand up to reason, do you think? I think he thinks about how people really use it. I really believe.
I think he thinks a lot about how people use it. I think that from what I've heard of him, I think that he also very much believes exactly in the way he sees it. Like that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
And he just reacts to what's there. And
it's the auteur theory of hardware design. I don't have a problem with that.
But I mean, if that were completely true, I mean, first of all, like, why have a company at all? Like, why have a marketing department if he's that arrogant? Well, on some level, he understands that he has the vision, and then other people need to articulate it. They don't give it just a serial number; they give it a really.
Well, he knows that. Yeah. And look, he worked with Yoni Ive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he worked with Yoni and the Lingham brothers. He worked with them.
No, but I think John. I think that he finds trusted partners, just like you or I would. But I think I'm a big fan of the auteur theory of cinema. I think that one person can have an artistic vision. And boy, it sure feels like Apple is Steve Jobs' artistic vision, does it not?
Yeah.
You're absolutely dead right. And I totally agree with you. There's nothing Gruber and I talk about all the time is how you enjoy somebody like, you look at somebody like Scorsese. There's all these kind of people, some people think of these as paradoxes or irreconcilable things. Like Scorsese makes the movie that he wants to make, but at the same time, anybody who's worked with Scorsese will tell you he speaks to each actor differently.
Right.
He brings them exactly what they need to get what he wants out of it. And I think that's whether
this is a good analogy.
Charisma, whether you do it through charisma or fear. I mean, and auteur, God, there's a couple wonderful documentaries about Stanley Kubrick I saw in the last year. And you get the sense of like people were kind of scared of him, but they also really wanted Stanley to like what they did. And when you became somebody that Stanley wanted to play chess with, like you didn't want to lose that.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that characterizes a good leader is that they don't have to go out and stand over you and say, how are you doing with email? Like they're gonna get in there and say, here's the rules. Here's what I expect of you. Go,
Incidentally, Steve's email came from Apple Mail, not from his iPad or his iPhone, according to the headers. So he does sit at a desk sometimes, occasionally, and use a desktop. Maybe he was using one of those new MacBooks.
I bet he's got mail tags and mail Acton installed.
You think? Is he an inbox zero kind of guy?
Oh, totally. I would betcha. I mean, what people don't get about Inbox Zero, it's not about doing email freaking 14 hours a day. It's about hitting your delete key like a crazy person, partly.
Yeah. By the way, iPad is great for that. I have found that one of the best things. So, I think it was.
I couldn't. Are there rules in iPad? Can you really set up the?
No.
That's why I haven't.
So here's what. Here's what you do. So I remember talking to somebody. I think it was Michael Powell at the FCC, but somebody who's a big BlackBerry user saying. Because you don't want to answer all your email on the BlackBerry. He says, no, you don't understand. The BlackBerry is an email deletion tool. The BlackBerry is for getting rid of the junk. And one thing that's really awesome about the iPad, I actually do respond to a lot of email on the iPad. However, the delete key is the #1 key I use. It's a way of parsing through that mailbox and getting rid of a lot of stuff so that if you do sit down at a desktop at some point, you're really ready to go. 1. And 2, use an IMAP client. Or IMAP provider, because the IMAP and the iPad, then if you do have filters running on the IMAP server, all those filters propagate. I've got, if you look at my folders, I've got hundreds of folders. All of that's happening before I get the mail.
I think that's my problem.
Is that what your issue is?
I have a pop.
Yeah. Look at all these folders. That all of that organization, all those rules are happening.
Because that's my problem. Because right now I have a pop and it's all happening at mail, and I have like 60 rules that I don't think I could.
Oh no, you got to get an
iMac.
iMac.
I mean, I couldn't.
Or use Gmail or Yahoo. Use something. Yeah, I'm not so excited about that.
I would be remiss as the supposedly anal retentive inbox zero guy if I didn't just bring up one data point, which is, I mean, I really do believe that to the extent possible, if you're going to do email, it pays to set aside the time that you're going to do it. I'm sorry, I know I say this all the time, but I think it's a pattern a lot of people don't adopt, and they don't adopt it at their peril. It's like, to me, if you've got time to check email, you have to make time to do it well and process it once. And this is my beef with mail.app on the phone. Or mail.phone or whatever the hell it is. It's like there's no way to really process email. To think of a BlackBerry as a deleting thing, that's like, do you like go to your mailbox and just throw out the junk mail and then come back later for the good stuff? That's crazy.
No, I don't. I mean, you're right. You're saying touch it once.
So, yeah, I'm saying. But
I go to now. First of all the filters have happened already. So all the stuff that's got to be. Look, I have a folder called douchebags. That's my sister does that.
Wait to hear my pick. Have I got a pick for you?
I kid you not. That's a folder full of mail that she sets aside for when I'm in a bad mood I want to read. But you can see all this filtering's already done. This is all folder filtering that's done on the server side. And then so I go directly to my Leo box. That's already pre-filtered. And you're right, Merlin. I understand what you're saying is, well, you shouldn't look on a message only once. Handle a piece of paper only once. But I delete I get a lot of bacon. So, press releases and stuff, I can delete that really quick. And I can do a quick response as well on this as I can do on anything.
You know what that reminds me of, Leo? Did you ever use Eudora back in the day?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are people today. I mean, there are these apps, like WordPerfect, Agenda, certainly Eudora. I mean, there are people who just don't want to let go. And actually, there is now a Thunderbird-based version of Eudora that's out. It's not the same as the old one, but what you're doing is what I used to do with Eudora. And it was mind-boggling to me when I lost this when I went to Outlook Express in 2000 or whatever. But I had it set up. Nobody did rules like Eudora. I don't know if you remember. Eudora had a great
it was great. That's where I cut my teeth on rules. You're absolutely right.
And it was the first place where it would keep if you like threads, like my friend Dennis Gephardt, all my Dennis Gephardt to and from mail was in a window, right? Same for everybody. And so I'd come in the morning, hit the button, go get a coffee because, of course, I was on, but I'd come back, and I'd have like 35 windows. And each window basically was a to-do, which was go deal with the email from this person and then close the window. That sounds kind of like what you're doing. You still have to go through those one at a time to decide if there's an action, right?
Yeah.
But you've got it organized in a way where you're working in kind of silos.
And I don't look at folders that are going to need more than something I can do on the iPad. But I can get a lot. Okay, I can't wait. I'm excited. And by the way, Gmail is very nicely done on the iPad. Google did a very good job of making iPad Gmail very usable.
Well, and the one thing that Merlin, I just want to underline what Merlin was talking about, because I think that the touch once, I mean, I kind of naturally do that. I just delete stuff constantly and respond to everything really quickly. And one thing I tell everyone when they walk up to me is, like, if you write me an email longer than six lines, the chances of me ever responding to you are almost nil.
You've seen that page.
Like, I just don't read it. I just go, and the thing is, if I don't respond to it within 6 to 12 hours, I probably won't. And I know that. So what I do is I make sure I respond to it, or I don't. But I'm not gonna, move on. But it's so important to stay, because my one of my family members who just got email was like overwhelmed that they were getting 30 emails a day. And I was like, if I get 30 emails a day, I was like, there's something wrong.
That's background noise for me.
Like, the server's down.
Really.
The server's down.
Apple will do its earnings, I think soon. Yeah, I'm not sure when their quarterly results come out. We haven't heard them as of
I think it's
our
2 o'clock
record time. Yeah, as usual, they wait till after we're done. However, the stock popped a little bit this morning, 249.24. Because analysts expect that the second quarter earnings should be the highest ever for Apple, and I think that's probably true. Of course, a bit of a sell-off almost immediately because IBM came back with a bad report. Like IBM's stock results or profit results are going to impact Apple. So maybe a bargain right now. You could maybe score some Apple stock at a good deal if the results haven't come out yet. Consensus, and this is what you want to pay attention to in terms of stock price, is Apple will report earnings of $2.45 a share on a revenue of $12 billion. That would make it easily the best second quarter in history. And of course, I don't even know if it does not include iPad sales yet. So Apple's still on a roll, And the by the way, the tech market has done very well. Big, good results. Best quarter ever for a number of big tech companies.
I think a lot of people were holding their breath and they couldn't hold it any longer. I mean, as far as purchasing,
got to buy something. Well, let me ask about the. We haven't talked about the new laptops yet. I had an odd. Have we? No, that happened on Thursday, right?
I thought we talked about them last.
Did we?
I think we talked about them last Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay.
I can confirm that I still don't have one. I'm sad about it.
I don't feel the need to get one. I've got an iPad. And honestly, I think the iPad. I haven't used my laptop much at all in 2 weeks.
I've missed all of the juicy iPad stuff. Everything I know is from Andy's probably 95,000 words he's written on this. but are you agreeing with Andy in terms of the Bluetooth keyboard as your go-to way?
I don't use it. Nope. I use the on-screen keyboard. I have a Bluetooth keyboard. I thought I would use it. That's personal, totally personal.
I've been keying away on.
Feel no need for it. I find that keyboard screen is fine.
I don't know if I could write. I don't know if I could write an article like Andy on that.
Oh, but I'm not a writer.
But as far as the writing stuff, I find that the touchscreen actually works. I find that the screen's almost too big. Have you noticed that the
you can't do this.
Well, no, that's why. You know what I want? Seriously, I want something that lets me use this as a keyboard because I am so fast now at vertical oriented typing. I finally have let go and let God, and I just let the
You have to do that. Yeah, you have to.
Well, yeah, that's people don't get that. I mean, the first time they do it, and they sit there and plug away. But I'll tell you, man, if I could have this as a Bluetooth keyboard for the iPad, there's got to be an app that'll.
You mean your iPhone?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh no, because I would prop that thing up. I'd sit back in my chair, and I can type like a mother.
That just shows how personal this is, really. I mean,
no, I don't want to type on a giant fake keyboard with my hands.
Well, that's a very American response, saying, "Oh, my iPad's all the way over in the coffee. I'll just can I just get key in from this? It's
can I get a second phone? My thumbs hurt.
It's like that Scrabble application where you have to have an iPad and 2 iPhones, and then you put the Scrabble in between you, and then the tiles on the Scrabble are on your iPhone.
Have you played it?
No, because I don't know anybody with.
Wait. Scrabble for iPad, Leo. You only look foolish.
No, it is so freaking.
I do words with friends. You think Scrabble is where it should go?
My kids and I, my kids had never played Scrabble. And so when I was home, when I brought the iPad, and my son Steven was playing it on his iPad. So he has an iPad, and so we had the iPad up, and so he's playing with the big letters, and then my Hannah and myself were playing on our iPhones, and it is so much fun. And they were so into it. And I was like, "What do you want to do next?" They're like, "Well, let's play a little more Scrabble." And it was, maybe
I'm gonna have to buy it.
Oh my gosh!
And of course, everybody I know has an iPhone, so I mean, you could play it without the iPhone. Did you do the iPhone tile thing, the tile rack thing?
Yeah, that's so it's a free app that you download. It's the tile rack, and then it syncs up. It totally syncs up.
I'm gonna wait till they make an Android tile rack.
Ship it to me. So it was really
So what? How does that affect like gameplay and scoring? Is there an official ruling that says that if the Android player crashes, all play has to suspend? You have to turn your tile racks over so that you can't see your own iPhone tile rack.
It's frozen again. It's frozen. Hold on. Hang on.
I'm just restarting. Hang on.
I actually prefer the online Scrabble versus the real life. The one with the actual chips because the dictionary is built in, and you can just you can do that.
Guess.
And there's none of that like, oh, I'm looking for something now. I'm going to browse the X section.
Don't you lose, you lose it. So this is why I always lose. So in Scrabble proper, if you challenge and the word exists, you lose a turn.
Yep, and it's a big part of the game.
It's a totally strategic part, right?
It's the poker part of the game, and you're taking that out completely.
I enjoy it without it.
I mean, it's still fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's like not doing rounds of time in D&D. I mean, that changes the game completely.
It does because there's a poker element. In fact, high level Scrabble players use this. They want to get challenged on a word they know. They will intentionally play obscure, bizarre, not reasonable words, hoping to get challenged, and vice versa. They'll take a chance, and it's poker. It's pure poker. You're bluffing. And that's completely gone. Not that I
always lose. I lose so badly. I like to think of myself as somebody with like an okay, B- vocabulary, and I get my butt handed to me in Scrabble because I'm totally timid. I lose a couple turns on the dictionary thing, and pretty soon I'm letting Ouija-bo, get by.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a little pissed now because they've changed the rules
That
of
was for you,
Scrabble.
Andy. That one was for you.
Ouija-bo.
I'm more upset because the iPad version removes like the most fun part of the game. Like when you get frustrated, you just have to flip it over and just like send all the towel. You should at least use the motion sensor. So that if you do that to the iPhone, iPad,
It should just throw the tiles in the air.
All the things.
Wouldn't that be funny if it just everything? Or there is the break it over your knee.
Yeah, you could do that. It's expensive.
It's expensive.
Pretty good.
But that's what chess masters have been known to do. Sweep the pieces off, take the board, break it across your knee.
And that's
the end of the game.
Is that checkmate or is
I
that,
think that's I resign. Is what that is. I shouldn't go down this rabbit hole, but I will. How do you feel about the use of proper nouns in Scrabble? They've changed the rules.
I think it's a dangerous path. The thing is,
you guys.
a bunch
I love
of
you so
old
much.
man.
God, I love you so much.
I just had to bring
It's
that
like
up.
any other place, like any other podcast I'm on. People are always hurting back. Oh, let's stay on.
No.
I'd love
not me.
I mean, where does it end though? Where does it end when you start adding proper nouns? What name? What language? It's
Think of the children.
it's a slippery slope. I'm saying that's all I'm saying. We're going from proper nouns to improper nouns to just improper words.
All right.
Unchecked aggression must be addressed immediately.
That's right.
At the source.
Preemptively.
This is
Kill
my last territorial demand. After I annex the Sudetenland, I will only use proper nouns.
My point exactly.
So you're saying that
Historically,
Scrabble is the
the
Neville Chamberlain of
always
board
been-
games? Is that what you're
I
saying?
think it is. I think it is.
I've made 2 Neville Chamberlain references in the last 3 days.
I know. Your other Neville Chamberlain, by the way, everybody's got to read in Kung Fu Grip your review of the new Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Written from the perspective of what? Probably like a VP, right?
VP
At
marketing
KFC.
at KFC.
I think the name of the post is a new brown thing you'll totally eat. Because it's like a personal holocaust of poultry. It's like the single most disgusting dog poop looking thing I have ever seen.
If you haven't eaten it, you must.
That's a hate crime. Look at that.
And what is that yellow stuff? That's the Colonel's secret sauce.
An engagingly pus-like cornstarch sauce. is how I
Sounds so
describe it.
I
bad.
think that was fairly accurate.
It is.
That's not my original post. That's the guy at Over the Hedge, the funny guy at Over the Hedge. You
Oh,
scroll
yeah.
down.
Let's go down to the
My started
original
was I
one.
just took that photo of the KFC near my house, and I couldn't stop writing about it because it's so
Hi,
disgusting.
we're KFC, and it's become abundantly clear that you sad bastards will eat literally anything we can find, photograph, and poop into a little plastic coffin. Believe me, we know, because for years now we've been testing you aggressively, time and again, through a mind-boggling series of product releases that call to mind Europe's inexorable slide into the Second World War. And there's your Neville Chamberlain reference. Your second for the day. It is so funny, folks. Read it. Kung Fu Grip, GRIPPE.com. You don't pronounce that gripe. It's grip, right?
No, it's a terrible pun on G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe
G.I.
and the
Joe
flu.
had Kung Fu Grip.
And the 1918 flu pandemic, I believe.
Absolutely. It took
Yeah.
a lot of lives, and it was really funny.
18 million. It was many.
Yada da 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 da.
All right,
Mostly poor immigrants, too, packed like 40, 50 to a tenement building. Oh, my God. I almost bust a gut.
And the children would have
the children.
Stop it. Stop it.
Seriously, Princeton, no iPads allowed. Israel and Princeton, for different reasons.
No, they didn't say
runs
you
them?
couldn't have the iPad. You just couldn't connect to their Wi-Fi network.
So apparently, now a lot of people got this wrong, and so I want to correct this because I actually read the press release from the Princeton IT department, and it I hate to say it, it makes sense because this happened before with the iPhone, right? A bunch of universities said you can't have the iPhone because they're bad, they're mean,
It's selfish.
It's selfish. This isn't that. This is legitimate, and apparently the Princeton IT guys are kind of sticklers for the RFC. So the Wi-Fi, well, actually, DHCP, you get a time for the lease. You get the IP number for a certain amount of time. After the lease expires, whatever it is, an hour, 30 minutes, you got to ask for another one, just in case. The iPad lease
Why is that,
expires. Well, I don't know. It's in the RFC. We don't need to ask why. It's in the RFC. So the iPad time's up, does not release the IP address, keeps it. However, Princeton's DHCP server, thinking that it's no longer needed, reassigns the IP address. So as an iPad user, you may have an unfortunate experience. It's not a security flaw. You just will get a message somebody else is using that IP address and you'll be knocked off the network. Princeton, to protect you against that unfortunate experience, is banning iPads from the campus.
And other people have said that Cornell says it's fine. They haven't had any trouble at all.
Yeah.
And it appears to be only some of them. That's been the thing that's been. According to Cornell, it was not all of them. It was,
and they marked a
some of
few.
the ones
They banned. In fact, I don't know if they banned all or just those, or I'm not sure exactly. It's not clear from the. But now, why is Israel banning iPads? They're actually confiscating them at the door. They're taking them at the door. You can't. So here, Apple has banned. Israel has banned Apple's iPad from entering the country from the U.S. and has threatened to confiscate the newly released devices from passengers at airports. And apparently, because the iPad's Wi-Fi system is incompatible with Israel's wireless standards, and it could damage the network.
Wow.
And apparently, a number of people have said, yes, they took our iPad. They said, we will store it for you until you leave. We will charge you for the storage.
I wonder what they're doing that's so different. It seems like it's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'd heard it was because it had laid down with men and eaten of the cloven hoof.
I think that's it.
That's true.
It's trafe.
No, so here's the thing. There's a phrase I use with my, I call them clients. You got to be careful not to let the guy with the broom decide how many elephants get to be in the parade. And this is why you should hire me, because I'm really funny. But I don't know how to do anything. But
What a great line, though. That's a slide. That's a keynote slide, I think. Yeah.
Everywhere I go, it is mind-boggling to me. And this is, again, I have been on both sides of this equation. I have total respect and aloha for MIS and IT departments. I know they have a very hard job, comma. Man, people are hamstrung inside of companies because they, like when you got a little kid, you got two little kids, and you got one piece of cake left, one cuts and one picks.
Yes, well, that's a great solution, by the way.
It totally works. It's like prisoners.
Have you ever done that, Alex? We're going to help Alex parent right now, Merlin.
Yeah. Go ahead, tell him. You probably had to do this a lot.
Oh, I do it all the time. So here's the problem. You cut the cake, and one kid says, Sammy got a bigger piece. So here's what you do. You give one kid the job to cut the cake. The other kid gets to choose which of the two pieces.
Oh, that was common. Anytime you got two bowls of anything when I was growing
Guaranteed
up,
you're going to have
one person
fair.
does it, and the other person has to pick it.
Yeah. Well, you knew this already.
It's prisoner's dilemma.
I know.
It's also the way that most large companies decide who gets to be CEO. They do that test, and if the person with the knife stabs the other candidate so we can have the whole cake,
you win.
That's the guy that you want.
You win.
You know what that is? That's thinking outside the box.
Stab him.
So here's the problem. Now, IT departments, God love them, so much respect and aloha. They not only they get to pick the knife and the cake and which part and whether we're having cake again, because their whole job is to make their own job easy, which is understandable. But the problem is, they are the wizards and the czars, and because most people don't understand what they do fundamentally and are scared of them. That's why everybody's using Windows still. Let's be honest, right? I mean, and it's why, to some extent, I think you get these squirrely policies where, in fairness, there's the thing, Apple has this thing that part of what some people say what's made Apple great is they never put in a feature that they don't want to support forever, which I think is a smart way to think about any product development.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but so here's
if
the thing.
Microsoft had done that, it would have been a different world.
So maybe I don't know enough about this, but maybe if you're Israel IT guy, you're basically having a bunch of people trying to shove a Betamax tape into your VHS, and you're like, whoa, I know that seems simple to you, but you're going to screw up the VHS player. Is that potentially what's happening here? Are they going to cause a reset? Maybe is there
no one can explain it. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
pretty
not like
funny,
there's a government. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Unless it's some kind of something to do with the security.
Could be, they don't mess around with that.
Yeah, it seems like it seems serious enough that they would take everybody's iPad, that they seem to be concerned about. It seems like security would have to be the issue, because I just have a hard time.
We know what they use for security there.
What?
WPA.
hey, WPOI.
I hate
terrible.
myself so.
You should.
What I want to know is, when you leave Israel and you get your iPad back, suddenly, on all of your games, have you been up 3 or 4 different levels since the week that you left it with them? Because that would be the answer to the security question, I think.
Yeah. My Godfinger, I'm up 20 levels.
What head over here.
We've noticed for some reason that everybody in Mossad has gotten very good at Plants vs. Zombies.
So if you ever go to Target to buy Starbucks, use your iPhone, because now 1,002 Starbucks inside Target stores.
I haven't found
There's
a
so
Starbucks
many
that does it
freaking
yet.
Starbucks now. They're building them inside Target stores.
Oh, they're inside Safeway. They're inside Target. They're just
You have to have the Starbucks app version 1.2.1.
I haven't been able to use it yet. I haven't found a Starbucks that hasn't. Were you able to use it? Yeah.
You used it. Mountain View. Neat. That's cool.
I walk around. I look for it.
There's some in Seattle and some in Silicon Valley.
So Seattle and Silicon Valley, of course, you can use this.
I'm ready. I'm ready
Starbucks.
for an order Americano.
It's a Starbucks mobile card. Oh, that's interesting.
Is that what you get, Alex? You get an Americano?
I do. I did when I started deciding I didn't want to be fat anymore.
Right. What does Steve get? Remind me. We had coffee one time with Steve, and what is it that he gets? He gets like a 6-shot espresso, Leo.
Yeah. It's they call him a sexty latte.
He gets a 6-shot espresso.
Steve Gibson, not Steve Jobs.
Yeah, I was like, I can't.
No, I think it's a Quinti Venti latte.
That's a lot of caffeine. That's all I gotta say.
That would make a certain part of my body extremely.
I'm actually vibrating from whatever it was you brought today.
That's a triple tall latte. That's the way they should make them, though.
Man, my head is swelling. So this is not the Starbucks application that I have. This is the Starbucks card application that you can actually put on there, and it's got a code, and you tell the Starbucks barista to scan it, and there are 1,018 participating stores, and you can load it up. I like that. That's good marketing. Right.
What's funny is there's so many other countries where you can buy all kinds of stuff with your phone, and we're still excited about it in the United States. There's so many people here watching, like in New Zealand or Australia or Japan, going
in Africa.
Yeah, that's
Alex,
so 90s.
Isn't it giant in Africa? Isn't SMS as a way to do everything? Like, is that a cliche or is that true, Alex?
No, you can do a lot with SMS in Africa. There
are people in what most of us would consider pretty remote, kind of. It's a disused term, but second and third world kind of areas who are doing pretty serious like commerce with a frickin' phone, right?
Well, the thing is that SMS is actually less expensive there than voice, and so
according to CNN, you can run Norway via iPad.
I saw this.
This is just a silly.
Now, is this more
story.
This volcano business?
This
Leo?
is Jens Stoltenberg, who is apparently the Prime Minister of Norway, was stranded by the ash. And so they got snagged a picture of him at the executive lounge at JFK with his iPad, apparently running the country.
Just he's got little check marks. Yes, no, yes.
It'd be good to have like a little Run Norway app. I'd buy a Run Norway app.
Yeah, for those developers who are watching,
you could run it by consensus. Like, okay, if maybe that's the future of governance. It's just give 1,000 people an iPad app.
Give everybody an iPad.
And then, it's 1 million, whatever, that says, okay, nuclear power, yes or no, and then they just do it.
Should coffee be free, yes or no?
By consensus.
Yeah, exactly.
That's democracy.
Yeah, and that's why we don't have it.
And then Simon Cowell could make some remarks about it.
Yeah, he makes some remarks, and then we'd go for a break with Coca-Cola.
And that's why
Heidi Klum would come out. I think you've really not understood the spirit of the challenge of our government. Your government was poorly made.
You've been watching Project Runway again, dude. You got to stop that.
The only reason, not the only reason, I really like that show, but I love the part when Heidi is about to throw off one of the two people, and she'll go like, Jules, your dress was a personal holocaust. Everything that you have done has been a failure. You didn't understand the spirit of the challenge, and you're heavy. Lola, and I want somebody to take all of those and put them together into one giant mashup. And Heidi just sits there, right before the Auf Wiedersehen, and she just tells you what is wrong with you as a person.
She doesn't hold back.
No, and apparently that's got to be devastating if you're
because
on national television.
You have the last face you will see is Tim Gunn. If there's an angel of death, I hope it's like Tim Gunn. Who says, "I'm so sorry to see you go, but you need to clean your workspace. We're gonna miss you."
I'm gonna have to go up because, of course, he sounds like Humpty Hump. I'm gonna have to ask you to go upstairs and clean out your space.
I'm missing something. I've never seen this show. I got to start watching this.
Start with season 2. Go straight to season 2.
Can you get it on DVD? Project Runway on DVD?
Yeah, you can hardly not get it on DVD. It's everywhere. I think they've got it on the Netflix streaming.
Just turn on Lifetime at any hour between midnight and about 5 minutes before
my
midnight.
Problem. I never turn on Lifetime. I got to do more of that.
This season's been kind of weak. I would start with season 2.
I think all of these shows are kind of like watching a car crash in slow motion.
You can't not watch.
Alex, don't be that guy. Have you watched Top Chef? Have you watched They're very
No, the only one that I watch, I
race.
have to admit, the only one I watch is Hell's Kitchen because not Hell's Kitchen, the original one, the Kitchen Nightmares. I love watching Gordon Ramsay lay into restaurant owners.
All right, we're going to take a break.
That's about it.
Okay, it's hour 5.
Before this show is over, I got 15 minutes to wrap this
we're
up.
not stopping this telethon until we raise $40 million, just $1 more than last year. Let's help these kids. We'll
I think last week we did like an 8-hour show, and it was all day, really long, and I was really trying to cut this one back, but it's failed once again.
I swear to God, I'm gonna have to buy like a box of like Cliff energy bars just to make sure that I've got the protein.
Look,
and the sugar.
let's move fast here. Let's move fast. We're going to do our picks of the week in just a second. First, though, before we do the lightning round, we're going to take a look at audible.com, audible.com/MacBreak. That's the place to go if you want to get a load of some beautiful, beautiful audio entertainment. And we're talking 70,000 titles, the best books in the world. And, no one has time for reading anymore. I mean, our lives are busy, but Audible makes it possible for me to read and get a lot of reading done. And I just love that.
I think we need to start calling it absorb information.
Yeah, because that's kind of what it's like.
A sponge.
Especially because they use such great readers. You really can. I'm looking for my next Audible book because I just finished the 2 Daniel Suarez titles that I loved. I'm thinking about this new Bill McKibben, which just came out for Earth Day. But let's ask Andy Ihnatko what he's reading these days, because Andy's like the big Audible reader.
Well, I'm a big fan of movies. I just came across one that was published a couple years ago called Pictures at a Revolution, 5 Movies and the Birth of New Hollywood by Mark Harris. First thing out the door, 17 hours, 25 minutes. There you go. Value for money there. But it's such a great premise, such a great way to take a look at the transition between old Hollywood and new Hollywood. What the author does is he takes this one year, 1965, and looks at tells stories about the makings of each of the 5 different nominated movies for Best Picture that year.
This is great.
Because it was a very, very wide. It was such a wide swath.
Anytime you got In the Heat of the Night and Dr. Dolittle in the same list.
So guess who's coming to dinner? The Graduate, In the Heat of the Night, Dr. Dolittle, and Bonnie and Clyde. Oh. And you can hardly and he makes a great case that each one sort of represents a different segment of Hollywood at that time.
Yes.
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which would have been a really epic, shaking movie had it been released in 1959, 1960, but was sort of at the back edge of the curve in 1967. The Graduate, which is part of the sort of nihilistic, we're going to have an ending that's not an ending, and we're going to sort of shake up everything you're expecting about an anti-hero.
Right.
Then you get, where the hell did Dr. Dolittle come out of?
Horrible movie.
And just with these overblown, old-fashioned movies about things that happen.
You can talk to the animals,
No. This is Rex Harrison. It was, if I could talk to the animals, just imagine it.
My style of singing is really more like talking, but it is really very English. But I'm talking.
So it's good for fans of film because it really was like one of those periods in which just the whole industry changed. What would work with audiences just changed within this 5, 6, 7 year period. But also it's got that really cool, really cool, just embarrassing stories. There's a quote that I've actually highlighted that it's from a review, but I remember the section that it appeared in. We're informed that a soused Rex Harrison, quote, appalled, unquote, a room full of Hollywood establishment types at a restaurant by, quote, singing obscene lyrics about his penis to the tune of I've grown accustomed to her face.
Oh, jeez.
No, wait for it. While his wife, Rachel Roberts, quote, who was not wearing underwear, did handstands.
Oh.
There you go.
There's a Hollywood party for you.
Was I loving my job? You bet your ass I was.
Robert Evans is in everything, isn't he? I think, yeah.
But he must have slept with at least 8 of the people in any given age. But that's as you're doing your hour and 50-minute damn commute to work in the back of the day. That's all you really want. That makes you pull into your employee parking space, smile on your face that your coworkers will never understand, and that you can never repeat if you don't want to be sued for something really appropriate.
It's true. What a great choice. Thank you, Andy. I've been reading all the movie books you've recommended all along, and this is definitely on my next read list. Pictures at a Revolution, 5 Movies and the Birth of the New Hollywood by Mark Harris. 17 and a half hours of enjoyment in all audible formats, including that new E format that is super high quality. Audible.com/MacBreak. Go there now. You'll sign up for the gold account. That's a book a month. And the first one's yours free. You keep it and cancel it any time, so you really have no risk here. And what a great way to discover what Audible can mean in your life. I tell you, I love it. Audible.com/MacBreak. Andy, do you have a pick of the week you want to launch us in?
Yes, it's a hardware pick of the week because I just found out that this computer right here, the Dell Mini 10V, has been discontinued by Dell. At least if you go to the Dell website, you can no longer order it. And the Dell Mini 10V is a very, very special kind of netbook because it is hands down the easiest and most successful Windows netbook that you can Hackintosh. Once you perform a very, very simple and straightforward, very linear procedure, you can install Snow Leopard on this, and basically every piece of hardware inside this notebook will work just fine. And it's the closest thing you will ever get to a Mac netbook. And the payoff is that you can buy these, although it seems to have disappeared from Dell's site. If you go to Amazon.com, you can still see multiple vendors that are selling this for $300, $250, $350. So if you have someone that needs to have a MacBook, but you really can't convince yourself to spend $1,000 on it, or if you need something that is a little less pricey to travel with because you just need something better, little bit more notebooky than an iPad, the 10V, as long as you have a certain amount of technical know-how, is a very, very simple and very, very easy machine to convert into a running Mac. So it's off the price list right now. It's not the only netbook that can be adapted to run Mac software, but it's the one where once you're done, essentially you have a fully functional Mac netbook. So great price, great value, built really, really well. If you ever thought about that, then this is the time to get in. Well, one important note to make sure you know the difference between a Dell Mini 10 and a 10V. The V is for victory. The V is for very important that you get this one and not the Dell Mini 10, because the 10V can very, very quickly and very, very easily be Hackintosh. The Dell Mini 10 nothing can basically do nothing. Don't get it. It'll be very,
That's good to know. Yeah. Is there a site that you go to learn about all of the ways to do this and so forth?
Yeah, there's a website just for the Dell Mini. I believe it's Mini. They're going to make me look for it.
I'll tell you what. Let you look.
Sorry,
I'll come back
let me look. I'm sorry. It's mydellmini.com.
Okay.
It's not run by Dell or anybody else, but it has really exhaustive instructions on how to Hackintosh it. Every time there's been, I Hackintoshed my first one, which is a Dell Mini 9, and every time there was a system update, I would always sort of hold off, go to mydellmini.com forums, find other people who had already done it to find out what will I lose, what will blow up if I try to upgrade the OS. Because after you've Hackintoshed the thing, you can do system updates just through System Updater, just like you would on a regular Mac. So it's great information, great support, and they'll hold your hand throughout the entire thing.
Very cool. Alex Lindsay, your pick of the week, my friend.
So I have an inexpensive one and an expensive one. I'll start with the inexpensive one.
Par for the course, yes.
So I have to recommend. I don't think I recommended this before. I think I might have talked about it, but Cat in the Hat for the iPad.
Cat in the Hat. Is that the one?
Dr. Seuss Cat in the Hat.
Because I've been playing with the Alice in Wonderland.
No, Alice in Wonderland's great, but Cat in the Hat.
That's the one.
My son loves it. And here's the thing. You swipe it, and it does zooms into the different parts of the pages.
Oh,
so it's the same classic Cat in the Hat. It will actually read it as well. So you can have it read it
out loud,
which I don't like as much because I feel like that's what I should be doing with him. So I read it, but he loves getting up there and swiping it with his finger, figuring out how to change go into the next thing. You can click on different items, and it'll say milk, hat, so he can kind of connect all those things with little words coming up, and he loves it. And I just think it's, again, going back to paper books seems pretty antiquated after that. So because I have a lot of Dr. Seuss books that I've been reading to him, I'm just waiting for Green Eggs and Ham, which we don't have yet. So I can't wait to read that one. So, but anyway, so Cat in the Hat, it's $2.99. It is. I'm hoping that we're going to see all the Dr. Seuss ones as a father, because I think that it's great. Now, on the more expensive route, this one is a little pricey, but you can download a demo, and it's worth just checking out. So, Autodesk has released an application called Smoke. Now, for those of you, Autodesk bought a company called Discrete, and Discrete had this huge, very, very high end, and we're talking $1,500 an hour to have someone work on one of these things. It's very, very high end. Called there's a Flint and the Flame, and Smoke was the smaller version.
Right. We use these in like a tech TV.
Yeah.
High
These
end
guys,
stuff.
you sit in there and they do all these effects, and there's all this stuff going on. It's like super high end. Everything's in real time. And they have done something pretty revolutionary. Most of these things have been mostly on Linux, and they've been on these big boxes that they make, and they're experimenting with the idea of porting some of these to the Mac. And so this is the first time this has been done. And so Smoke is it's the smallest of the bunch, but it's still a big system. So you can actually get it for your Mac. Now you're going to want a Mac Pro. You can run it on your laptop. So you can totally run it on your laptop and play with it. You're not going to get the full performance unless you soup up your Mac Pro to with an NVIDIA card and everything else. You're not going to get the kind of performance you get with a hardware box. But you can play with it, and what you're looking at is it's a window into a whole different level of high-end production. Even if you're using After Effects or Shake or something, the type of performance and the type of things you see in commercials, it's worth downloading the demo and playing with it and going through some of the tutorials that they have online. It is more fun than anything else. I know a lot of people listening are not going to buy it. The price is $15,000.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Could you have said that up front?
No, but the thing
does that include hardware?
No, that's just the software. So
will it run on my Dell Mini 10V?
Yeah, but the thing is that what I will say though is that there's a demo. There's like a 30-day demo. You can download it and play with it. It's just fun to play with. It is a very, very powerful application. It's fun to get a glimpse at it. Now, if you're working at a school or you're a student, the educational, I don't know what the educational price is, but it's extremely aggressive. I mean, we're talking hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. So if they are very aggressive about getting, working with schools, working with, and I think,
by the way, that's 25 Alexes or one Scott Bourne.
It is the most expensive. Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's 2 Scott Bourne. Scott Bourne is 7,000. And so the but it is the most expensive thing I think we've picked. I don't know. I think Scott picked something that was like $60,000 one time.
Probably.
But this is definitely the most expensive one. But as I said, I don't expect a lot of people to use it. Buy it immediately.
Oh, good.
But I do think that
save up for that.
I wanted to let people know it was there and that it would be and they should go up and check it out and just download the demo and play with it. It's fun. As just a little something that you're gonna noodle with.
And as Kaneko points out in the chat room, there is a discount if you buy 100 seats. Yeah,
you get like half off or something.
Half off.
So get 99 friends together who would much rather have this software than a car.
And I got to show you this video from Art Axios, who responded immediately to our call and has prepared. Oh, what's happening? Oh, my book, is it frozen? There it is. Has prepared this little video for us based on the Tiger Woods video.
Tiger, I am more prone to be inquisitive, to promote discussion. I want to find out what your thinking was.
That's so sad.
I want to find out what your feelings are.
Oh, boy.
And did you learn anything?
Yeah. Don't celebrate my party and the birthday in the bar with my phone anymore. Merlin Mann, your pick of the week.
Oh, hi. You know what? I've got one that's Mackie and one that's not, and I'm going to give you the Mackie one so I can talk about the one that's not.
I want you to give me the thing that you were talking about.
Do you?
Is that an email thing?
Yeah. I learned about this on Nick Denton's site called Lifehacker. I was looking for something else, and I discovered this on their site to give them credit.
That's right.
For the
We
link.
should give credit to Nick for one good site.
I like Gina.
Okay.
A lot. I like Gina
love
so
Gina.
much.
Don't we all love Gina?
It's so hard. There's not enough brackets in the world for me to separate Gina from my feelings about Gawker. So this is amazing. Gmail is great. I love Gmail. It's mind-boggling to me when I go into companies and everybody there is compelled to use Outlook just because of, there's a lot of good reasons. I mean, obviously there's the, kind of exchange piece, and there's a lot of companies that are sort of addicted to that culture of putting, events on other people's calendars, which makes my head hurt. But, gosh, again, I just have to start with a meta recommendation for Gmail just because if you learn those keys, JK, bracket. I mean, go learn them. I know you think you know it from Reader, but no, go really, really, really learn them. Learn L for label, and then select a label with no mouse. Mind-blowing. And one of the best things about Gmail, obviously, is the filtering. And there's a lot you can do with filters, but there are some things about filters where, let's be honest, it doesn't touch Microsoft Outlook in particular. Outlook is, to my mind, next to maybe Eudora, again, is just so great. guess Thunderbird is another great one. But, there's certain things I've always wished I could do. Long story short, there's now a service out there called, I believe it's pronounced Syphir, Syphir. And you sign up using OAuth. I think this is one of the very first OAuth apps for Gmail. You go in and you sign up. So basically all it's doing is, using it to sign you in, but all the transactions, as I understand it, are happening, I guess, through Gmail. Whatever, I'm not a security expert. Point being, you go in, and this exposes data, exposes stuff to filters that is not available right now in Gmail, and I'll tell you a couple. Gosh, where do I begin? Does this need a reply? It uses I think they call it secret sauce or magic or something, but it basically looks at your email and to the best of its ability says, does this need a response? Does this not need a response? Or does this maybe need a response? It's kind of neat. I'm guessing it looks for things like question marks and things like that, but whatever. So far it's worked like surprisingly well.
Wow.
But get ready for this. If you are an Inbox Zero guy, and you should be, inboxzero.com, look it up, you know that there's all kinds of things where you want extra control over when you see stuff and whether you see stuff. And most importantly, the thing I cannot say enough, when do you really need to be notified about stuff? Because right now it's a pretty blunt instrument, unless you just make stuff go to a folder and you just never see it. But what about stuff where you need a little more nuance than that? Well, let me give you a few things that this will filter on. How many recipients? Does this have attachments? And if so, how many? What time of day did it arrive? So, for example, I could say I take all messages that were to one recipient and let that one recipient equal any of these emails, which are me. And those, for example, are the only ones I want you to send to my iPhone. There's a companion iPhone app for this that will give you notifications based on the amount of sensitivity that you're comfortable with.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, how about this? Anything that went to more than 5 people and has an attachment, don't show me until after 5 p.m. Anything from Facebook. Anything that has more than 10 recipients, send it straight to archive. You see where I'm going with this?
I do.
There's some pretty nuanced stuff in here. Now, the one that they're going to add to this that I think people like Alex and I are going to love. Oh, there's even one there. It's really cool. You can actually just say give a 1, 2, or 3 star, to this based on how important it looks. So another one that they're supposedly adding soon, is how long since it arrived. And boy, wouldn't you love if you had a commitment to this, to say, if there's any email in my inbox that's been there for more than N days, archive it without me even having to look. Is that irresponsible?
That
Probably.
would be huge.
Huge. Because I don't even want to have to look at it.
I could get to Inbox Zero and just without answering anything, just throw them out.
It's a start. And you know what I use it for? Here's one I did yesterday that I love. So are you getting this? There's an app on your phone, and you tell Syphir that only when these conditions are met do I want to be notified. And so, for example, I go in and I have a bunch of people who are like current clients I'm working with all go into one bracket with pipes. And anytime an email from them arrives, it goes to my phone. My wife, always it goes straight to my phone. But this one, check it out. Siri, the much beloved Siri.
Yeah, I love
set
Siri.
one rule so that if it's from Siri.com and includes reminder in the subject line, it sends it to my phone. So what does that mean? I'm on the go, and I say, remind me to take my daughter out of the washer in 5 minutes. It's going to send that, and then that notification will come to my phone. So I think this is super promising, and it could certainly be abused, but it's a terrific way to add an extra bit of stuff. Go ahead, and all you have to do really is go and log in. It's OAuth. I don't know much about OAuth, but it seems a little bit safer than the usual.
Syphir is free, but the Smart Push iPhone app is $3. Yeah.
But even if you just use this for Gmail, stuff like don't show me anything that's got an attachment and went to more than 5 people. Wow.
That's great.
Okay. So anyway, I love it. I'm loving it.
I'm signing in right now. I'm going to get an account. That looks really very useful. If you got to use Gmail to make it useful, obviously.
Well, kind of. But think about what Gmail is. Gmail is more than a web app.
It could come from anywhere.
Well, it's Gmail is IMAP is what it is. Right. So this could be any, if you're using Google Apps or any other way where all your emails kind of being accreted in this one place, you can do all your futzy proc mail type stuff right here on Gmail and then just walk away. Love it. Syphir. I'm not sure what their model is. It's a pretty site. Looks like they're using, I don't know what that face is, but it's nice.
It is. It's very pretty.
Okay, and then here's another one more super quick.
Okay.
Sync Mann. Synchronize address book with Gmail. I have terrible luck getting Gmail contacts and address book to play well together. It's been totally crap. This one's really short and simple. It's a little thing you buy. It's $14.99. and you pick how you want synchronizing to happen between your address book and Gmail. Should Gmail always win? Should Gmail also include suggested contacts? Should it just do the delta between the two? Should address book always win? I'll spoil the ending by saying I've gone straight to let Gmail always win because I don't have confidence anymore in the Mac apps. But it's fantastic, and it's really good at dealing with duplicates. So much better. Duplicates to me are huge. I get duplicates all the time, mainly because Google's really weird about how the company field works. But if you do a little bit of cleanup, even without a little bit of cleanup, SyncMan works great. And you can say do it every 15 minutes.
So spell this, where can I find it?
It's watery.net, which is WATEREE.net /SyncMan. And SyncMan, SYNCMAN, is one word. And what's nice is if you want to go in and it'll do this all in the background, or you can say, hey, show me what just happened. If I just had a huge change in my address book, let me go monitor the update. And it shows you basically in the same way that like the Changes app would, like left and right, which where change is going to happen. I got to be honest, guys. I'm moving more and more of my stuff over to Google stuff.
Yes, I already have.
Bite me at some point, but the dig that I will slip in here is that I don't see the care and the maintenance for the Apple products.
Now, if you have Snow Leopard, Address Book does synchronize with Google.
Not very well.
But just not well. Okay, so this is a superior way to do it.
It's the same opportunity that the Busy Mac guys came up with. Yep. Busy Cal and Busy Sync. So this is, I'm sure everybody involved would hate me saying this, but it's very analogous to what Busy Cal, Busy Sync did for Google Calendar.
And we broke Cipher, so let's hope we don't break Watery as well.
Oh no, really?
Well,
you're a powerful man, Leo.
A lot of people go to those sites when you're the power. People say, "Ooh, Merlin recommends it."
I don't want to provoke you. And it's working for me. Bug closed.
Thank you, Merlin man.
Sorry, that was long.
No. We're running because we have we want to get to a special on the Ash in just a bit. But before we do, I'm going to give you a quick pick. I had been looking for a news reader that would work with my Google Reader, but would also allow me to, on the iPad, bookmark to Delicious and do Instapaper and all that stuff. And I found one, and I love it. It's called News Rack. And I just wanted to mention that because I had been looking, and we've been using NetNewsWire, and I love these guys, and I had figured that they probably would, update NetNewsWire to use Delicious and all that stuff because it does on the desktop. But this is OMZ Software. It's a German company, OMZ-software.de, or just search for News Rack. There's an iPhone as well as an iPad version of this, and it has Twitter, Delicious, and Instapaper support built in, and that's how I picked all the show's stories for this week.
Nice.
So I like it.
Have you tried Reader?
Just plain old Reader?
REEDER?
No. You like that one?
Look.
I'll take a look at that.
No, I'm not trying to heist your pick.
No, heist it. Heist away. We're always
really pretty. Well, I'll show you what I love about Reader. Reader is the 2.0 of Reader is mind-bogglingly great. It's added some polish. The reason I use it is precisely for the same reason.
It's an iPhone, not an iPad, though.
That's a good question.
They don't have an iPad version yet.
Oh, that sucks. Well, the reason I love it is, in particular, is the bookmarking on it. See,
that's key to me. Is how it's one thing to read this stuff, and I've got there's so many great iPad apps that look prettier.
It. You got Google Note. You got Pinboard. Oh, sorry. Can you see that? I don't know if you can read it. Pinboard. Email this. It's backwards.
Does it have Delicious?
It had Delicious.
It's got Delicious. It's got share this via RSS. Copy link. Safari. Mail link. Mail
as soon as
article.
they do an iPad version, I am so there. But they unfortunately are iPhone only right now.
And it does that tweety gesture thing, so you can left and right swipe. Oh, let's focus here. You can left and right swipe to mark it as read.
The one problem I have, and this is a problem with NewsRack, I have so many feeds that it really kind of bogs, and I've got to really cut my feeds.
This thing is really
fast?
Snap. Yeah, go Google Reader too, and you'll see there's been lots of reviews of it. But yours is great too. That NewsRack is gorgeous looking. It's very
well. It gets the job done. We could do iPad apps all day. I mean, there's so many great.
We should.
Maybe we should do an iPad app.
Somebody should buy me an iPad.
Huh?
Somebody should buy me an iPad.
Somebody should. Somebody should.
I'll give it back.
Buy Merlin an iPad. There's a fun application called Sky Grid, and I don't really know who these people are, and I can't use it because it doesn't do Delicious, but it's very interesting because there's somehow some sort of algorithm. You don't give it your feeds or anything. There's some sort of algorithm to say what's hot right now, and they have categories, sports, entertainment, politics, science, tech, movies, TV, and it's it's just even clicking the celebrity category, you can see what people are talking about. And so it's kind of a cool, I think it's a free iPad app called
I downloaded
Skygrid.
it and I didn't quite get it, so
it's just like
cool.
it's kind of like, it's like tech meme
like
for the
filler.
world.
yeah.
It's simple. It's not, and it doesn't do the main thing I need. You can email stuff out, but you can't delicious.
To me, without Delicious, it's kind of useless.
Yeah, I'm there with you. There's a lot of good news apps, and Andy, I finally got Comixology's comics, and I bought all of the. Is that the one you like? I don't know which one you like best, Andy.
I think the Comixology and iVerse are my two favorites. What I'm waiting for is, what a lot of people are waiting for is a really, really well-polished, just generic comic book file reader app for the iPad. And there are 2 or 3 different companies who are making versions of their iPhone editions for the iPad. None that have really just absolutely nailed it yet.
I have to say, though, this is the same engine, I believe, that Marvel's using. So it's the same thing, but it's a store that includes more. And I bought all the Kick-Ass episodes, and I gave it to my son, and he couldn't put it down. It was really cute.
Yeah. It's really well done.
Yeah.
The fact remains that anytime anybody wants to see me demonstrate comic books on the iPad, I never go to like the plain comic book readers. I always go to the Comixology app.
Yeah, just really nicely done. All right, enough. We're out of time. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Great discussion.
Damn us for giving so much value to our listeners.
Damn
we can't
them.
be stopped. I just want to help educate.
You guys are too good.
No other way. That's
Andy
the problem.
Ihnatko, he writes for the Chicago Sun-Times. Read him. He also has a great website, www.cwob.com. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
Mr. Merlin Mann's the greatest. Read his invitation to eat that brown thing from KFC at kungfugrip.com. Also, don't forget his podcast. You look nice today. What a great show.
Thanks, Leo.
43folders.com. Thank you, Merlin. Always good to have you. Mr. Alex Lindsay from Pixel Core. He's already got his plug-in, so he's not going to get one now. Pixelcore.com and pixelcore.tv for the podcast. Great NAB content, though. Lots of information there going up if you wanted to find out what's the latest in broadcast and
It's all coming out over the next couple
technology
weeks.
over the next
It'll be
couple of
fun.
weeks. Yep. And don't forget, $50 special deal for you at pixelcore.com. Sign up today. I'm Leo Laporte. We do put this show on YouTube at youtube.com/twit in the MacBreak Weekly channel. You can also get it on iTunes and everywhere else. We've got audio and video of the show now. And, of course, don't forget to watch the show. We do it every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv. Now get back to work. Break time's over.